application of thyme and heat is probably the most important ingredient you will ever use, and it's applied with attention. First full show in the new kitchen, and I still have a lot of stuff to figure out. Wrapping up our chicken breast series, part 4, bone in, skin on chicken breasts. Very quick veggie prep. I can't find a shallot anywhere, and I think they're actually out of season. So, onions for all of these chicken videos. Dinner today is going to take a little bit of time, so we've got to go a little bit lower and slower with these chicken breasts. My herb of choice today is going to be some dried rosemary. That big beautiful rosemary plant that I had last summer, some ants made a colony underneath it and killed the whole thing. This is all that's left. And I'm not going to chop that. Dried herbs tend to go everywhere. I'll just quick smush them up before I use them. And then this whole thing, well, let's cut that in a quarter maybe. Those 3/4 of an onion are going in our stock, and then I'm just going to make little carrots, and the goal is to make them all roughly the same size so they cook through at roughly the same time. And this is all going in our stock. If I had some celery, I'd put that in the stock too, but I don't, so I'm going garlic. You can use garlic even if you do have celery. And for that, I'm not going to remove the peel. There's tons of flavor in the peel, and it's getting discarded anyway. Other two things I'm going to prep for my ingredients over here. I'm going to pour myself a nice glass of a German Riesling. This is a Mosel Riesling. Mosel is a winemaking region of Germany that is famous for, among other things, its Riesling. And on the back here it says Qualitätswein, which just is a mark of quality. There's one higher mark of quality in German wines, and then we get into the designations of Spätlese, Ausschleicher, Birnen, Schrock, Lauslese. There's a bunch of them. Eiswein! But anyway, I didn't want to use this originally because I fell into the trap, like we all do, of assuming that German Rieslings are sweet. All of them are sweet, and they can be. And a mark of designation doesn't necessarily mean sweet or not sweet. The way that German Rieslings are categorized is how much sugar they start out with, but since sugar is what turns into the alcohol, that can be a complete range. But I'll tell you why I pulled this off my shelf, is that everything else that I have is a Chardonnay, and Chardonnays for me range from, it's alright, to get that out of my glass. And if you like Chardonnays, I'm not going to tell you that's bad. I just don't like them, and that's why I reached for the only other thing on my white wine shelf, and I'm glad I did because it has a little bit of sweetness. I wouldn't exactly call it a sweet wine, but it has a lot of acidity, almost like a citrus zest with sort of a tart apple. This time we are going to spatchcock this bird, or take the spine out. Still looking inside, they have supplied us with a neck. I'm going to make a stock right away. I want to flip this bird over. You can pretty clearly identify the spine by just running your finger over the middle. And then kitchen shears. These kitchen shears are actually made by Wustaf. You don't have to get an expensive pair of kitchen shears, but these were actually only $20. So I think for a quality pair of kitchen shears, $20 is not that much. And I would say after getting yourself a reliable chef's knife, maybe a reliable serrated knife, a pair of kitchen shears that comes apart for easy cleaning and drying and putting away, should probably be number 3 on your list. That's another thing. These are never going to get put in the sink. They're never going to go in the dishwasher. These, like my knives, like my vegetable peeler, like my cheese grater, anything that's meant to cut, hand wash, hand dry, put away. And that's really the most important sharpening tip that I can give you. Reduce the times that you have to sharpen. Spine. And that is going to get dropped right in my cool water. You want this all to start at roughly the same temperature. I'm going to throw in all of the veggies that I had cut for this stock. I want to make my onions a little bit smaller because this is going to be sort of a quick stock. Cover, and I'm going high for now. When I see that start to heat up, start to simmer, I'm going to go pretty low. Low enough to maintain a simmer. We can continue to use the kitchen shears if we want to. I'm going to cut this flesh right above the breastbone here. Press down on that breastbone to sort of break it. And if we ever wanted to make an entire spatchcock chicken in the oven, that's how we do it. But we just want the breasts for now. So over to our cutting board. We can actually root around in here and grab out this breastbone. It should make our work a little bit easier, but if it doesn't come out right away, that's fine too. Okay. Because after one cut through, we find ourselves at the breastbone anyway. I'm going to put that breastbone in the stock too. Slicing away some of the skin from this leg. Sort of break the leg bone. Hind quarter. Now I'm just going to fold the wing under. Here's the deal with what I've got going on. This is going in my belly today. This is probably going in my belly tomorrow. And these two I'm going to use for a future video. You can really do the same thing that I'm going to do to this chicken breast to these hindquarters. Oil here is just so that I can catch all of my drippings and I have nothing stuck to the bottom of this sheet tray. Let's see how dry we can pat this, because a dry skin is a roasty skin. Salt, pepper, and whatever other seasoning you feel like should go on there. My pan sauce is going to be full of flavor, so I'm fine with just salt and pepper for now. 350-degree oven. And we're really going for internal temperature, not a set time. This is probably going to take between 25 and 30 minutes. I want an internal temperature of around 150, because then we're going to take it off, finish it on the stovetop, and it's going to come up. This is starting to simmer. I'm going to go to about medium and try to keep that going. You can take a mesh strainer or a spoon, whatever you'd like. It's a little bit easier with a mesh strainer, and we can take some of that off. And there's really nothing wrong with any of this, but what you're doing is making a more clear stock. All right, I'm going to keep my eye on this. It's going a little more vigorously than I'd like, but I'm used to fire, and this is not fire, so I think it's going to come down a little bit more. What I can do is take it about halfway off the heat, and once it settles down a little bit, I can bring it back. That concludes my veggie prep. These are getting pan sauced and these are just getting glazed to serve with my chicken. Alright. It's been about 25 minutes and my thermometer is actually out of batteries. It's alright because I'm pretty good at poking chicken. If that's a skill you want to learn, you should just do it over and over again and you're gonna eat some pretty dry chicken breasts, but it's all in the name of getting better at it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with using a thermometer though, but sometimes your equipment does fail you and it's good to be able to just noticed that. It's good to be able to fall back on something when that happens. This time I'm going on a medium-high heat. I'm going to use just a dab of a high heat oil. So my only goal is to sear this. I'm going to add just enough salt here to be able to taste the flavors that are already in here. That's pretty nice. Let's switch places here so you can see this. That juice, I'm going to save that for my pan sauce. This is a higher heat than last episode. It is a direct heat. I'm going to try to prop it up against the lip there to get all of the skin seared. If you have a fan, use it. That's what it's for. High heat cooking. Yes, look at that skin. Alright, maybe just a little bit longer than this piece right here. And then veggies. Look at that beauty. Oh, man. Alright. That's coming off. That's going to rest right on top of here. Any more juices are just going to fall down into that foil for later. Pan heat is coming down just a little bit, and I'm going to pull this pan off the heat. I've been sipping on my wine. I might not have enough to cook with. And now we can deglaze. Back on the heat, and all of that lovely fond comes off. The last time I did my onions and my butter first. That's because I had an emulsifier. Mustard is an emulsifier and it will bind the fat to water. Now we get our onions in and our garlic. Let that go just a little bit. Mushrooms, I'm using just a handful of creminis, and when I get mushrooms, what I like to do is go to the bulk bin instead of getting them in the package and fish out all of the smaller mushrooms. Let's go a little bit lower on that heat with the sauce, and that way I don't have to cut them up, just eat them whole. Right, we have a little less smoke now. Turned on the fan. I have a strainer in a bowl. I'm going to get my stock going in that. Once those are coated in butter, the thing that takes the next most long to cook. I don't want the carrots to cook a really long time though, so they're just getting in there to get coated in butter and warmed up. My broccoli, which I've tried very hard to keep roughly the same size. A handful of rosemary. I'm going to crunch that up, and about half is going into my pan sauce, and about half is going into my veggies. Now that wine is pretty well reduced out of there, and I am going to get some of the stock, and this works best. Goal here is to really concentrate this flavor. It's good. I kind of thought I might need more rosemary. Let's do that. Didn't realize there's almost nothing you can see over this steam. I'll have to do a glazed vegetable video in the future. The point where you can sort of draw lines that stay through the pan is when you're going to kill your heat. You're going to drop in some butter. And the butter will do two things. It's going to cool down your sauce, and it's going to start melting. And you want to stir it constantly because that is going to help emulsify that fat into your pan sauce and make it nice and creamy. The heat is off, but it's still hot. The electric unit cools down a lot slower than the gas grate. So let's just keep stirring, be patient. You think you might have something about the consistency you're looking for, take it off the heat, let it cool a little bit, see how the sauce acts as it cools. There we go. That's nice. You know what I didn't use were these drippings, but that's okay because what I'm going to do, sort of wrap these up in a little tinfoil ball, and I can use those to make tomorrow's pan sauce. Here's what I'm going to do with this chicken breast. I'm going to go to the wing side, sort of cut down at an angle until I hit the rib cage. I'm just going to follow the rib cage down and make myself a few nice slices here. And let's take from the very middle and just see how I did. I'm telling you, there's no shame in using the thermometer, but it definitely pays to learn both, just like both units of measurement and temperature, how to cook on a gas range and an electric range and a campfire and a grill. And then I'm going to plate right back on my chicken. Pan sauce right over top. And some people will say to throw away these garlics. Nah, I'm going to eat them. Carrots, broccoli, mushrooms. Look at that. This is a little bit of work. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna make this for myself every night, but sometimes. Butter and mushrooms. Let those mushrooms soak in all that butter. Beautiful glaze from that homemade stock. We could let that stock go longer. Some people say simmer it for somewhere around 6 hours. I don't think it needs that long. If you want to do it, go ahead and do it. No one's stopping you. But this, I think, for the time and effort that I put in, is phenomenal. Chicken. Skin on. That flavor with the pan sauce and the wine. Whatever you cook with, drink that too. The sort of ripe, autumnal crispness of this Riesling really shines through in the pan sauce. I'm loving this. I'm really glad that I chose it. It did kind of choose me. So there we go. First video completely in the new place. I still have a little bit more organizing to do. I still have a reasonable amount of unpacking to do. If you saw the introduction of my new space, you'll know that there is a huge window right here. So I actually don't have any studio lights on right now, just the house lights with this big open window. So if you got any value out of this video, please click the like button. It'll get more content like this in front of you, and it will help YouTube to figure out who to send my stuff to. My stuff in front of more eyes will eventually mean better production quality, and hopefully that I won't have to work a 9 to 5.